You guys ready for a new cam video? Let's get it. I've got some really good information in this video for you guys coming from Donnie B over at Anderson Ford Motorsports. He's going to help you guys out if you're trying to decide on a cam. All right, also in this video, I'm going to try to include at least some of the other cars that we've had on the channel, even though they're not here today. That way you guys can hear different cam setups and make your decision on what you want. With that being said, let's go ahead and get into today's video. Got a couple of new setups since we've done our last cam video, which is this car and this car. Anyway, we're going to redo this thing for you guys one more time. I'm going to go ahead and insert some old video footage from some of the other cars with different cam setups, different exhaust setups. You may see some of the same cars, but it's because their setups have changed. So enjoy, and we'll sit down and talk about all the camshafts once we're done. stock heads, stock bottom end, Flowmaster exhaust, X pipe. You guys want to hear the 65? Let's go ahead and bust it off. Squeaky belt and all. One thing I want to do different in this video is kind of sit down and discuss this real quick with you guys. Also, hang around to the end of the video. Actually, you know what? I'll go ahead and play it for you now. Here's some really good information from Anderson Ford Motorsport from Donnie B, the Fox Body God when it comes to camshafts. We were just talking a second ago. You've got a complete stock of all cams right now, right? Except for like one?
For the first time in 3 years since probably late 2020 or early 2021, I actually have every single grind number. As we say right now, October 1st, 2024, mark the time, 3:46 p.m. Central Standard Time. I have every single cam grind on the shelf, with the exception of two that are custom, like special order cams, but they're not like a high volume. Like all of our popular ones, and more of the even like the smaller quantity niche ones that are specific to a specific setup, we have them on the shelf, as we said.
Nice. All right. While I got you on the phone, man, real quick, let's do this one more time. If you've got stock heads, I know you don't want to give the absolute, gospel here, but what's the biggest cam that we can run from Anderson with stock heads, stock valves on fly cut pistons? So what's that, like 86 and up?
Yeah, pretty much late 86, because the early 86s were just dome with no reliefs in them. But yeah, you can take a borescope and see if it's got the little 4 eyebrows. But yeah, late 86 to 95 Mustang, or even later Explorer GT40 stuff. The biggest camshaft that you can actually install in one of those, you do have to retard the cam a couple degrees, but it will fit. It's the N51HR. That's the biggest niche aspirated camshaft you can fit in
Nice.
there.
So N41, we know we're good there.
Yep, N41, no issue. Don't have to. You can just install that one straight up and be fine. N21, same deal, but with 1.7 rockers. If you have a 93 to 95 Cobra that came with the GT40 heads and 1.7 stock, that cam will fit right in there.
Gotcha. What about aftermarket heads? What are we looking at here?
So the stock piston is going to be your barrier, but you can do a Trick Flow 170 or 11R 170 with the 202 valves, because they have a canted valve that still clears the piston, because the N41 camshaft only has a 512 lift with the 1.6 rocker, so it clears. Same with the 51HR, you can put that in there, but again, you'll have to retard the cam 2 degrees or maybe 3 degrees, depending on, always check this in the valve, but that one usually fits in there with if you retard the cam a few degrees. B31, B21, N21, those all fit without issue on a 202 valve Trick Flow 170 only. Every other inline cylinder head on the market, if it's got a 1.9 or 1.94 valve or smaller, it'll fit with those same cams that we just talked about. But if it's an inline head like an AFR Renegade 185 with 202 valves, it will not clear without fly cutting the pistons.
Well, Donnie B, look, man, you are a wealth of knowledge. I appreciate that. We're going to share this with everybody. And if they got any questions, they can give you a call. So big shout out to Anderson Ford Motorsport. And I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up. Me and Donnie B are just going to chill and talk. I appreciate you, man.
You bet. Glad I could help.
All right, so I want to talk about the differences in these cams and what you can expect. Let's start with the B303. It's a very well-known cam. Many people have ran it for years and years. It's been around since the late 80s. The cam sounds good, guys. It is a go-to cam if you've got a stock bottom end car and you're worried about piston to valve clearance. Typically you can get away with a lot. This thing has 202 valves sitting on top of it, but the B cam does not have a lot of lift, so you can kind of get away with that. You heard Donnie B talk about some of these other camshafts, so piston to valve clearance can be a problem, but the B cam seems to work pretty well with most any head on the stock bottom end. All right, so how much horsepower gain? Like, are you going to get a seat of the pants difference from a B303 cam? No. I'm going to be honest with you. Never noticed a difference seat of the pants with a B cam. You typically, in my opinion, you put those in there, but just because you want the sound. Now, with heads, with roller rockers, and other supporting mods, absolutely, you're going to gain some horsepower from it. But if you just stick it in a bone stock car, you're not going to feel a big difference. It will buck with you at low RPMs and like slow cruising speeds. It will buck with you actually more than you might think. Even more so than some of these other cams. All right, with that being said, let's move over to the Gray Ghost here. That's got an N91 cam in it, and it is super streetable, guys, as long as you have the gear. You're going to need some gear because these big cams do not like a tall gear. It's too much of a load. They just don't like that. So that car's got 410s in it. I would not recommend anything less than a 373 if you're going to be running really any of these cams from here on out. 373 really is perfect up to 410, 430, whatever you want. But drivability is great. Power is phenomenal. That cam makes a lot of power up top, but still makes pretty good power down low. The Carbon Fox with the N51HR, I seem to have lost a little low end with that car whenever I put that cam in it over the N412. I can't remember what cam I had in it, but does seem to sacrifice a little bit of low end. Drivability is pretty good on it, and top end is phenomenal. All right, so that's the N40. All right, that's the N51HR. All right, on the Berger's car, what you got in it?
B451.
How is drivability?
It's good. It'll buck with you a little bit, like low RPM, like second and third, but I feel like that's to be expected.
Yeah, for sure. What about power? So you went from, which cam did you come from? The comp cam, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It was similar to an XE274HR, somewhere in there, maybe an 84.
Yeah, I would say it's more responsive.
More responsive. What about top end? Did it change any? The way it pulled?
hard to say. I don't
Didn't really notice it.
No.
Hey, it is what it is. So the biggest thing here is, you know, he got this cam because he loves the way they sound, right? And that, I'm gonna be honest with you, that's why a lot of us buy these camshafts. It's because they sound good. You know, so many people don't want to hear that shit. They're like, you should never buy a camshaft because of the way it sounds. Well, sorry, that's just what we do. Nowadays, with power adders and things like that, most people aren't searching for that 5 to 10 extra horsepower. They're willing to sacrifice it to have a cam that's maybe a little bigger and that sounds really good. So I don't really worry about horsepower numbers. I want to be happy when I get in the car and it drives good and it sounds really good. So that's what makes me happy. I don't care anything about that extra 5, 10, 15 horsepower that I left on the table for a cam that doesn't sound as good. I'm gonna play some clips from the Poop Coupe. That thing has an N41 cam in it. The N41 is the new B303 cam in my opinion. If you guys want a good cam that's gonna work, even with some aftermarket heads on stock pistons, the N41 is a great cam. Hardly ever bucks around in the neighborhoods and, you know, crap like that. Also, the B21 is in Andrew, or was in Andrew's white coupe.
Yeah.
I'll play a little clip for you guys right now. As you can hear, that thing sounds ridiculous. Great drivability, and we could feel an increase in power whenever we put that camshaft on a stock engine. I need you guys to hear me out. Bone stock engine, all we did was put the B21 in that thing and it sounds great and it runs great. All right, so one thing I want to touch on, these smaller cams, the B cam, the B21, the N41, they need a free-flowing exhaust if you want these things to sound good. If you're pulling the heads and doing anything like that, make sure you put a small combustion chamber on top of these pistons, and also make sure you don't go too thick on the head gaskets. And the reason why, you want to keep that quench tight and small, and you want to get that compression up as much as you can. That's what's going to make these little cams pop, that and a free-flowing exhaust. We found that out with Andrew's car. I think it had Flowmasters with some high-flow cats. Didn't like the way the cam sounded, didn't pop. We did some removal, and wow, you would be amazed at the difference that it made just by doing some modifications. But anyway, with that being said, I hope you guys enjoy this video. I'm just trying to kind of let you hear all these different camshafts, and this time us talk about them and tell you, you know, our thoughts as far as drivability and power goes. If I can find time, I'll look through and maybe find some of the other cars that we've done in the videos that aren't on here now, and maybe some of the old cam setups, and I may go ahead and post those up for you now. So if you kind of see some different clips from different times, that's what it is. I'm just going back through some old videos and finding some for you, throwing them in here. Virgil, which cam do you recommend if you got a bone stock car and you just want a cam to throw in it? What would you put in it?
I love the B21 in Andrew's car.
Yeah, B21 sounds great. Anyway, all right, we're gonna wrap this one up, and as always,
Thanks for watching.
look at that. You're doing so good.